Thank you, Jonas, so much. And a big welcome home, as it were, while you're in Raleigh, to Bev and Anders Gyllenhaal. Many of us know them as villagers in the Foggy Bottom West End Village. That's how I personally came to know them. Bev and Anders have been very active, and they've gone on to new adventures and wonderful explorations that continue to inspire us, whether they're here or wherever they are. They have developed a passion, a real passion. And I don't think the Gyllenhaals do anything without passion. Whatever they do is with love and great talent. And so I think we're very lucky that they have not only developed an interest in birds and creating a website called flyinglessons.us, I think, but also using this passion for birds to help promote interest in the environment. And I'm sure Bev and Anders can better address that issue. But so substantial and meaningful is their interest that they are now writing a book, which we all look forward to reading, and hopefully we'll hear more details about that. So here they are, looking refreshed after a 10,000-mile journey around the country. And I know that we will all enjoy hearing from them and learning from them. So welcome one and all. And Bev and Anders, I can't say enough thank you for all that you're doing.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Lorna.
Well, we're so glad to be doing this. We get so much joy and pleasure out of birds, and we're just always happy to share anything that we can about them. But today we're really excited because we're going to be talking about this new section of the Merlin app, which comes to you via Cornell University, which you probably already know, and Anders is going to talk a little bit about that in a second. But this is really turning birding on its head. I mean, we spent so many hours, years actually, as beginning birders, trying to figure out what was around us in the woods and just even on our porch. And we still don't always know what's there. So it's really wonderful to have this little sound capturer that just tells you right away what the birds are that are singing near you. So we're going to talk about that.
So we'll start by putting this slide in front of you. I hear singing. This presentation, it sort of walks through that, has a little fun along the way, we hope. And then of course we'll end up in a discussion at the end of that.
The first thing we were going to do is,
go ahead and do that. Right.
Yeah, okay. So we thought that we would have a little bit of fun and test our audio. So first of all, we're gonna play a bird song, and hopefully you can hear it. And then if you know what it is, you can either shout it out or type it in your chat. But let's see if you can.
And there's no bad answers, just guesses.
Just fine. Guesses are good. So see if you recognize this bird. Can everybody hear that? Nod.
Any guesses on that one? The answer is?
That's a house sparrow. So that is the bird that you're going to see most often when you're walking down the sidewalks, wherever you are around the DC area, you're going to hear the house sparrow.
The most common bird in the country. It's a non-native bird that has just gone everywhere.
Huh. All right, here's a second one.
Any guesses on that one? I'll give you a hint. It has a red breast.
It's the robin.
Yes, excellent. Very good.
Yay.
I'll tell you that the truth is that it's a very hard. We're constantly struggling with birds. We heard a week ago. What was that? Because there's so many birds. One more?
Yeah, we'll do one more. And this is like part of the wind up to let you know why you need Merlin. Okay, this is the last one.
Pecker?
Actually,
Very close.
yeah. Here's another one of its songs. That is another ground bird in DC. That's the European starling. So you're gonna, again, have that. And it's just amazing how many songs they have. Like the starling has, I mean, 4 songs, not including its calls that it does.
Right.
So keep your ears peeled for that. All right.
So the interesting thing about bird songs and calls is that they've been studied extensively, and they are the most like human voice in among any wildlife. The struggle to figure out what these songs are is not just for our fun as bird appreciators. Behind what we're going to show you today is a fascinating level of in-depth research being conducted by the Cornell Lab of Ornithology based in upstate New York. And what they're doing with these sounds is they're finding ways of researching birds by their sounds. For instance, out on a Pacific island where you really can't reach or spend much time, trying to figure out how many birds there are there. Research now will put out audio recordings, collect those sounds, analyze them with the same algorithms that are used by Google and Facebook online, and they're able to tell how many birds are there. We just got back from a trip to California's Sierra Nevada mountains, where they've coated the entire mountains with these audio recorders to try to figure out how to protect the spotted owl. You may remember the spotted owl, the northern spotted owl was this huge controversy, all kinds of trouble with lumbering against birders, and it became a catastrophe. Well, in California, a version of that same spotted owl, they're using bioacoustics, which is the sort of scientific name for what we're going to show you, to try to figure out how do we protect these birds. So behind what they're using for a commercial purpose is also this really interesting research, which we won't go into too much depth in, but wanted you to be aware of.
Okay. Now, if you're like me, facing a new technology can be a little bit intimidating. So we thought you might need some, a little bit of encouragement. So listening to birds is actually really good for you. You're supposed to go again.
Yeah.
Okay. So the reason that people find birds so relaxing and reassuring is because over thousands of years, they evolved to know that when birds are singing, everything in the world is okay. It's when the birds stop singing that we have to worry. And that's obviously even more so probably true today. Okay, so there's at least one study for everything, right? Well, I was able to find a study that said that of all the sounds in nature, bird songs reduce your stress the most. And so knowing which birds are singing can even be more enjoyable if you know which bird is singing. So when you're out in a park or you're out in the woods, and maybe you're even out on your balcony, you can use the Merlin app to guide you through the symphony of bird song. But it's even more healthy if you listen to birds at the beach or by any type of running water, because the same study that I was referring to, it was actually done by the National Park Service in conjunction with, excuse me, Colorado State University, Michigan State, and Carleton University in Canada. And this is a study that found that bird sounds are the best for reducing stress. However, that same study found that water sounds improved positive emotions more than any other sound. So next time you're able, go down by the river or somewhere where you can hear the water and look for birds.
And I'll just mention that, take a look at this. This is a reddish egret that we ran into in Galveston, Texas. And what it's doing, it may look like Fred Astaire in a dance move. It kind of is. It goes out, spreads its wings around. Fish will come into the shallow, water underneath, the shadow underneath it, and it will stab them. It jumps all over as if it's doing a dance. So these birds are, in addition to figuring out what their voices are, calls are. Just watching them is so very, very interesting.
Okay, so birding is something that you can do kind of like any other brain game. It sharpens your observational skills, and that's a skill that's highly transferable to other parts of your life. But obviously this one over here is downloading another bird song.
We always try to find these cartoons, and none of them are that funny, but close enough to help lighten up the presentation.
Okay, so now that we're all sufficiently motivated, let's get down to the basics of how to use Merlin. So this is Merlin's home screen. So if you have downloaded it, you might have already seen this. And as you can see, Merlin helps you identify birds in several different ways.
Now, so we're sort of zeroing in on that centerpiece, and you can see there's really 3 different ways that you can explore birds. One of them is simply to describe what you're seeing on the app. It'll ask you a couple of questions and you can figure it out that way. It's very helpful. You can also download a photo through that photo ID part. And that's a little more complicated because you have to catch the photo and put it in, but that's very accurate. And then the third is the sound ID. That's what we're going to focus on because those 2 on the top are pretty self-explanatory. And that last item, Explore Birds, is a library of information. If you just want to learn more about some bird you saw or you have questions about it, this is kind of the front door to the app, and there's 3 different ways of going about it.
Okay, so now before we get started with the real nitty-gritty of this, what's going to happen next is we have taken actual screenshots of what you will see on your phone, or you can also, by the way, use this on your iPad, so long as you have, I think it's OS version 13.0 or above. You can also use this on an iPad. So basically, what's going to happen now is I'm going to show you what we're going to go through as if you were actually doing it, but don't do it right now if you have the app up, because we're going to practice at the end. And I think it'll just be a little bit easier to go through it this way. So the first thing you would do if you're out in the field is you would have touched Start Sound ID. And this is what you would see on your screen. And it's very simple. You will just touch the green microphone icon in the middle, and then hold your phone out in the direction of the bird's song.
What this is creating is a spectrogram of the sound. And if we zero in on this, you can see this item on the top. It looks like some sort of fuzzy hieroglyphics from Egyptian eras. Actually, what it is a translation of that sound into a form that a computer can then scan very quickly and say, that matches this song. And so we just wanted to understand a little bit, that's the technology behind this. And of course, if you record a whole lot of material, you'll have millions of these spectrograms, and artificial intelligence can zip through those in no time and figure out what bird we're talking about. So.
Okay, now, this is what you'll see next. You're going to see that you're listening for the birds. Oh, that's the same one. That's the spectrogram. Right. So, oh, well, one thing I will point out about the spectrogram is that in real time, this thing is going to scroll across your screen like a stock tape, telling you whether the stocks are up or down. And you can just sort of watch it. And that's kind of cool too.
Now, what you're trying to catch is a single sound or call from a bird. And just by way of background, there are 10,000 species of birds in the world total, estimated. Anybody have a guess on how many there are in North America? There's no wrong answers. That's right. Put your hand up. Anyway, there's about 750 to 800 birds in North America. So you can see we have a portion of birds, but there's many, many more around the world. About 4,000 of those 10,000 have songs, have calls that they make. So not all birds sing, but many birds do sing. Mostly songbirds get that name from that. And many of those birds will have multiple songs. If you recall ever watching a mockingbird, which is a mimic, several birds will mimic. The mockingbird has dozens and dozens of different songs. So you have to kind of get used to the fact that there's a library with some of these birds of many songs. But most birds, as you get used to this, have a primary song that will help you identify them.
Okay, so we were listening to birds and the spectrogram is running across your screen at the top of the app. So what's going to happen is as Merlin identifies a bird, it's going to hop up in a little box with a picture like you see here with this one is the goldfinch, the flicker, and the blue jay. So that's what it's going to look like when Merlin identifies your bird. And now a really cool thing is that the birds are going to sing not necessarily on top of each other, one at a time. So the box is going to turn yellow of the bird that's actually singing at that time. So you can just sort of, if you're hearing a symphony of birds, all you have to do is listen and watch the screen to know which one is singing at that particular moment. Okay, so the Merlin app by default runs for 2 minutes. So after the 2 minutes, it's going to ask if you want to stop. And you can either stop at that point or you can continue recording. If you continue, you can stop it at any time, but it does go a little bit better in saving your recordings if you go ahead and keep it to the 2 minutes or under. If you don't have to let it go for 2 minutes. At any point, you can push the red box. Okay, so hang on a minute. Let me figure out where we are. Okay. All right. So once you stop the recording, we're just going to pretend like there was only one bird there because it will happen over and over for the different birds, but this is going to be easier if we just take one bird. So we're going to assume that this was a cardinal that was singing. And when you stop the recording, this is what you're going to see on the screen. It's going to be the bird that you are working with that it identified as the cardinal, and then all the songs of the cardinal are in green below. Now, those songs were actually Cornell's recordings. And the reason they put them there is so that you can compare the professional recording, if you will, with the sound that you heard. Because one of the things that's happening here is Merlin is using machine learning to continue to better itself along the way. It's okay if you make an incorrect identification, but if the identification is right, it just actually helps. Now, the thing that happens next is this is probably the only unintuitive thing I think that happens in the app. When you get your bird identified and you see all these songs, you need to scroll down. So now you'll see the next one. Just scroll up. Well, it's actually scrolling up on your screen to get below the list of the songs. And then you'll see a little box that says, "This is my bird." So for the purposes of what we're going to do right now, we want you to tap, "This is my bird." And there it is again in a little bit of a larger format. Okay, now, the fun thing, well, there are a lot of fun things, but one of the fun things about Merlin is that you get to save your private list of all the bird songs that you heard. You get to do that in one of two ways. There is a whole section, a whole different app called eBird, and a lot of you have probably already heard about eBird. It's a tandem app that goes with Merlin, but you don't have to use it with Merlin. And because it's a lot more complicated than Merlin, we're not going to use it today. We're only going to use Merlin. So you want to touch Save with Merlin. All right. So now, once you do that, you're going to see the next screen that comes up is Choose Location. Now, Merlin is using the geolocator in your phone to know where you are. So 99.9% of the time, all you have to do here is hit Next. Okay, and then for some reason or another, they want you to, again, confirm your sighting. So you're just going to hit Save. And then what happens there is it's going to say your sighting is confirmed. Now, can everybody, you can all see these slides, right? We're not covering it up with anything. Can you see the one that says sighting saved? I'm
Yep.
assuming everybody can
Looks
see
good.
that. Okay, great. All right. So then at the bottom, you just tap this. Well, okay, sorry. We're back to, oh, we're a little bit confused. Okay, stop right here. All right, so sighting is saved. Now, what has just happened is that Merlin has saved this recording to your personal list so that you can go back to it later and you can listen to it, you can delete it, but it's also kind of a diary of all of the song sounds that you have heard. So it'll tell you in your list that you saved exactly what day you saw it and where you were, that you heard it, sorry, and where you were when you heard it. Now, if you look at the sighting saved screen here, there's a couple of other little goodies that Merlin can do that I wanted to point out to you. If you'll notice underneath the cardinal's picture on the right-hand side, you see where it says life list with a little check mark. That means that that is a bird that I have seen before. So Merlin is keeping a life list for you so that it's going to know over time all of the birds that you identified using the sound ID. It also keeps them with the ones that you've seen in the other types of ID modes within Merlin, but we're only going to talk about sound right now. Now, another little goodie is that if you look underneath the date in the middle of the screen, it says that I've seen this bird 212 times. Well, that's actually the number of times that I have told Merlin that I've seen it. I've seen it a lot more than that, but Merlin keeps up with that for you as well, which I think is actually really cool. Now, finally, to get back to the home screen, the first thing you're going to want to do is tap the X in the top right of the screen. And then that is going to take you to the next screen. And then you just tap on the house icon in the upper right-hand corner. We didn't do that one because it'll just be there.
And let me just add, so going through these steps may sound a little complicated if you're seeing this for the very first time. But in reality, if you work on this 2 or 3 times, suddenly it becomes pretty clear and you really can't go wrong with any of these steps. And so we wanted to walk through it in detail so you could sort of see it. But as you play with this on your own, and we'll practice in a few minutes, you'll see that it's pretty intuitive.
Andrew and
Yeah.
Bev, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
I don't have one of these phones, but I'm curious if you've saved the call. If you just want to go and take a walk, could you turn on a song that you've heard and see if you attract a bird?
Wow, that's a good question.
That's an excellent
Tell you
question.
what we're going to do. We're going to come back to that in the end. The answer is yes.
And no.
Yes and no. It's a somewhat controversial thing because when you play back a song, the bird thinks you're a bird, which is good for attracting them, particularly in the spring when they're looking for mates. But it can also be disruptive to the bird. So we'll come back to that excellent question in just a minute.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Now, we just wanted to sort of full disclosure, Merlin isn't perfect yet. This was a picture out in Yellowstone where we were this summer in actually it ended up being 20,000-mile journey that we took across the country and back. And we were out of range of cell phone signal. Now, surprisingly enough, the app still worked sort of good, but it told me I was seeing a frigate bird, which you won't see unless you're down in Florida Keys or Mexico. But so I knew that one wasn't right. So the other thing is that if you are in a lot of traffic or there's a lot of ambient noise, Merlin will still work, but it might not work as well. If you're too far away from the sound, it's just not going to work.
Right, right.
Also, Merlin can only identify 458 species of those 700 and some songbirds right now in North America. They're adding them all the time, but if you get no matches and you knew you had a signal, you knew you were close to the bird, but it still says there are no matches, then it's probably because it's one of the 400, it's one of the ones that was not included yet. It hasn't been included yet in their database.
but those birds are the bulk of the birds that you are likely to see. And one other really interesting and really important point in all this is, okay, so this is an app that helps you to see and identify birds and to record the birds that you've seen. But another thing that you're doing is when you use this, you're contributing to the greater push for research about birds, which, as you all know, birds are in significant decline across North America and the world for a lot of different reasons that are obvious: habitat loss, the beginnings of climate change affecting them, just the hazards of urban life. Cornell is leading the way in trying to understand where birds are, what the populations are doing, how migration is occurring. And when you record seeing a bird, that contributes to the greater good because millions of people are doing this. Cornell collects all that data, makes maps out of them, and uses that for significant and sophisticated research. So you're contributing to the cause.
Citizen science project. Okay. Now, some of you may know that we are planning to take a field trip to Roosevelt Island, and this is one of our favorite slides here. This is the very first bird watching trip that the village took back in, I want to say it was 2013. And this is where Anders and I got hooked on birding. So we have this huge debt of gratitude to the village and the village programs for our interest in birding. But we're going to do this again on October the 16th, and we're going to meet at Roosevelt Island at 8 o'clock sharp. And we'll be sending out, there is in the director's notes, there's a new sign up just for this one particular program. So if you signed up for this program today, but you also want to go on the trip, then please go back in and sign up for that, that particular part of the trip too. So that if we need to communicate about where we're going to meet exactly, tell you some things to bring, etc., we'll be able to get back in touch with you about that. That is Saturday morning, October the 16th, rain or shine, at 8 o'clock in Roosevelt Island. We're hoping that you're going to bring your either your smartphone or your iPad, and we will help you if you've run into problems and can't figure this out. We'll be on hand. We've also got someone coming to help lead the trip from the American Bird Conservancy. She's going to bring a spotting scope, and we'll make sure that if there are any birds there, we will see them, and we'll definitely hear them too. Okay. We were going to practice now, but we were just sort of checking the chat. So maybe before we do the practice, we'll open up to some questions and see if this was completely confusing or not.
Yeah.
Jonas, I think you said that there might have been a couple questions in the chat. Maybe he's not there yet.
The one main question in the chat, someone asked what happens if the app sort of doesn't pick up the sound, and if you have any recommendations for sort of troubleshooting that issue.
Yeah, now I saw that question, and I didn't know if you were responding to what we were playing over the computer here. We're not entirely sure of the quality of that conversion, so that's kind of a playing game. Now, lots of times you'll be out, and for some of the reasons that Beverly mentioned, it won't be able to identify the sound.
Well, wait just a second. There's one thing that's really important before we start troubleshooting of that. In the beginning, when you loaded up Merlin, the app, and you started the very first time, it should have given you a box to say whether or not you would allow Merlin to use the recorder, the microphone on your phone, and you had to grant permission for that. So I don't know if the person who asked the question, if you saw that and if you granted permission for the app to use the microphone on your phone. If you didn't, then what you need to do is go back into your settings and okay, let's see. So you go to settings, you go to privacy, you go to microphone, and then you flip on the toggle on beside the Merlin ID app. If you have an Android, Now this is all on the website, by the way, and there was, we gave out a list or a link to this page on the Cornell site that has all of these frequently asked questions, et cetera. So this isn't the only way you're being able to get this information if I'm going through it too fast. I just don't want to bore everybody. But on the Android phone, you search settings at the magnifying glass icon for permission, and you find the appropriate menu and you change the app permission so that you are giving the app permission to use your phone microphone.
There were a couple of other questions, which we'll just answer those before we go. The walk on Saturday will be how long? I think it's a 6 hour, no.
I don't know if you all have been over to Roosevelt, but there's a couple of things we can do. We'll meet in the parking lot. There's a bridge that you cross to go over to the island. We can pause at the bridge. If there are any birds singing, we can stop right there, or we can even listen to birds that are in the parking lot. So if anybody wants to come, but they don't want to take a walk, we can, if you come maybe even a few minutes early, we can do some practicing right there in the parking lot. And then we'll walk across the bridge, and we thought we would just take one of the loop paths that goes around to the pond area, the sort of stream area that's over to the, I think, the right-hand side as you're
You
going
take a
around.
right and there's a wetlands over there.
So we're going to try to make it that far, because that's where you usually can be pretty sure you're going to see something.
Probably be out for an hour, maybe hour and a half at the most.
Right.
Yeah. And you should definitely bring binoculars,
If
because
you
that's
have them.
the whole point if you have them.
But actually the whole point of this is with your phone.
Well, that's true. I mean,
So if you
both of
if
them.
you don't have any binoculars, you'll still hopefully be able to hear them. But if you have binoculars, bring those too.
And Susan, do you want to tell us what your experience has been that where it's not working? Do you want to give us some details on that?
Yeah, I've had it a while, and I've just had no luck. I will record and it just says can't identify.
Okay, and are you outside close to a bird, do you think?
I think I'm close enough. I'm always on the C&O Canal. That's my regular place.
Oh, yeah, that should be good. Well, it may be a permissions thing, but if you want to come on Saturday, we'd be glad to figure it out, because,
Okay.
Not this Saturday, the
Just-
October 16th.
right.
But the big test will be today when the crows mob around 5 o'clock. I will see if it records them. If
All
it
right.
doesn't, then something's really
Okay,
wrong.
all right.
Thanks.
But it
you have
should work.
do you
What you're
have to
describing should be working.
Do you have to download specific packs, Anders,
Yes,
or things like
yes.
that? 'Cause that might also be a.
Thank you, Jonas. He's our tech wizard. Yes. So when you first started using the app, you have to actually, they have something called bird packs because it knows where you are in the country. So if like when we were out in California, it knew we were in California. So we had to load up the Western birds. So you want to be sure that you go to the part where it says bird packs or get bird packs and download the birds for the Southeast.
Oh my gosh, something that simple. That's usually what I mess up on. Thanks.
Don't we all?
Yeah, okay.
All right. So what other questions? Do we have any more that are up at the
I
moment?
think we've answered them all.
Okay, now we're going to get really nervous because we're going to practice see if it works.
So those of you who have the app, let's pull them out and see if we can use this Zoom to get across a couple of little tests. And what we'll do is
I'll give you a couple of seconds to get the app up. Now, if you've never used it before, it's going to ask you to, well, first of all, I wonder if we could see a show of hands of people who actually do have it. Okay. All right, so some people actually do have it. All right, so we hope that you can pull it up. I'll give you a couple of seconds because I got to get mine pulled back up here too. Okay, and
so you're gonna go to the front and you're gonna click Sound ID, and you'll see that green circle in the middle.
hopefully you've already downloaded some of the bird packs. If not, it's going to take your phone probably about 30-40 seconds to download, depending on if you have a decent signal wherever you are right now. you'll have to have some birds in there in order for it to be able to know what you're doing.
Okay, so here we'll sound our first,
Wait, so I should download US Northeast?
yeah, that's
Yep.
right.
Okay, all right.
And just to stall a little bit here, we have some virtual prizes for the best answer that we get here, and you'll be awarded at some time in the future. Some unidentified time in the future, a virtual bouquet. Any other questions before we go ahead with this test? All right, so drum roll. Beverly.
Okay, so I'm getting ready to play the bird. So what you need to do is hold your phone up somewhere close to wherever the microphone is so that you can hear it. It's going to take a couple of seconds. Raise your hands if you've seen anything yet. Do you have a box with a bird in it yet? Has anybody got one? Jonas does. Does everybody have a cardinal? Okay, who doesn't have a cardinal? Okay, we've got some with no cardinal. All right.
And do you have anything there?
Well, I need to.
Okay, so we're still struggling a little bit.
I have the bars.
Okay, you got
I
the
have the
bars.
bars, but not the bird.
All right, well then we're going to do it some more. If you got the bars, it should get to the birds soon if you have the bird pack loaded into your app. So let's see.
Oh,
Yes, no.
no.
Okay, those of you who aren't getting it, I have a feeling you don't have any birds loaded up into your app. So let me find the thing.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sorry.
That's a good idea.
Okay, so all right, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go looking for the bird packs.
So how do
Okay,
you
here we go.
know?
All
How
right,
how do you know if I did hit download, but how do I know if they're there? Is there a place to check?
good question. All right, hang on a minute. Let me go here. All right, so we want to get to
Bird packs, here they are.
home. All right, so here's the home screen again,
Mhm.
right? Okay, so over here on the home screen, there are 3 bars up at the top left as you're facing it. There's
Correct.
3 little bars up there. Can you see the 3 little
Yes, I
bars?
have 'em.
All right,
Yeah.
touch the 3 little bars and you're going to get a gray screen on the left. Okay,
Correct.
scan down and it's like you'll see Start Bird ID, sound recordings, life list, and under that is bird packs. So touch bird packs.
I did, and I hit.
Have anything?
It says, well, I did the US one, but how do I know that it's actually installed? US
Okay.
Northeast.
Okay, okay, and I'm going to show you my screen and see if it'll work. Oh, golly. hang
You'll
on.
see them listed there like this.
Okay,
and,
but you have to, under the queue for search up at the top, there's 3 things. There's an installed tab, a recommended tab, and an all tab. So go and hit the first choice is installed.
Okay. Oh, it has Southeast. Okay.
Well, the Southeast is okay too,
Okay.
because the cardinal is in the Southeast. Does it say update beside it or does
Yes.
it?
Yes.
Okay. So hit update.
Okay. And then install. Again.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And
Okay.
so I'm actually updating mine now too. It shouldn't take very long.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. It's those little tips that I just totally overlook and I can't find anywhere. Thank
Right.
you.
Well, it is That's why we're here.
Okay, why don't we try another one for those who are
Okay.
ready, and we'll.
Yeah, now I'm doing the same thing that you're doing. Because I was doing it as you were doing it. So I am updating my southeast. I'm 58% through now, through it. Now I'm 68% through, 75%. So we'll just give it a couple more seconds.
Okay.
Let me answer a couple of these questions that have come up. One of the questions is Merlin adapted for birds outside of North America? And the answer is that yes, Cornell is becoming a worldwide service. It's particularly strong in Europe and India and South America. And so it's gradually trying to adapt to those 10,000 birds, which
They haven't done the sound
are many more.
but they have not done the sound yet. The sound is the last,
Excuse
like-
me, excuse
Yep.
me, could you tell us again how to find update?
Yeah.
okay. All right, so go to the home screen, like we were at before, a home screen. Okay, then up in the left-hand corner, if you're facing your screen, there are 3 green bars. Touch the green bars and you should see a gray screen to one side. Go down the screen and
Two-thirds of the way.
choose bird packs. Tap on bird packs. Okay, now it should show you something that looks like, I'm not sure if you can even see that or not, but all right, look at Anders. Can you
So
see
you
that?
you get a little list like this
Mhm.
that shows the packs that you have.
Now, if you don't have any packs, like, okay, you want to go underneath search. There should be a search bar up at the top of the screen. Then there's 3 tabs. One is called installed, one is called recommended, and one is called all. Why don't we touch recommended? Okay, did you get anything when you touched recommended? Are you getting anything that says US Southeast or Northeast perhaps?
Yeah, I got US and Canada continental, plus the US Southeast.
Okay, well then the one that you want to do is the US Southeast. You could do the whole country, but it's going to take a while. Does it say update was beside
Mine doesn't, no.
what does yours say?
Mine says installed. It was already been installed,
Okay, well, if it's already installed, then it should be working.
right? But my bird didn't come up though, when you had the tweets going on. It didn't show.
Okay, well, we're going to try it again. We're going to
Okay.
try it again.
I have
Okay.
another quick question. In the sound ID, every time I pull it up, it says update sound, and I've hit that about 3 times, but I still get that message.
Can you show me your screen? Can you hold it up?
Yeah.
Hold up a little bit higher. Update sound. Oh, I know what you have to do. Okay, you probably don't actually have the sound ID part activated. So what you're going to need to do is go back to the App Store.
Okay.
Go back. Are you using Android or Apple?
Apple.
Okay, so go back to the App Store and
Okay.
then go find the app, do the, request the search, search for the app.
Right.
Okay, then when you get there, you need to update it. So when you get into the store and you see that, there's going to be a little place for you to update it. So you
Okay.
need to update it, because if you already had Merlin prior to the fact, if you had it before sound was introduced, then you have to update your app.
Okay.
And that may be why yours isn't working.
Okay. I will try that, but I don't want to delay the.
Yeah, this was, well, and we could also do we could do an extended session for those of you who still aren't getting it.
Yes.
But if you had Merlin in your phone from before, it sounds like you were a bird watcher before.
Yeah.
So Merlin has only come out with sound in the last couple of months. You had to go in and update it to get sound to work.
Okay. Thanks.
So do we want to try one more time?
Yeah, we sure do.
Yeah.
Okey doke. let's see, should we go with the cardinal again, or do you want to do a different bird?
Do a different bird.
All right, let's try the robin.
So you're hitting the sound ID on that first page, and then you're hitting
The green
the green
microphone.
microphone,
All right, and here we go.
and you should see a bird flying, and your spectrogram should start to travel across the top of your.
No bird.
Bird detective. Okay, wait a minute. So Linda, you're just saying bird detect. Hang on a minute. Has anybody got a bird? Raise your hand if you have a robin. Oh, good. We got
All right, we're getting
two
there.
people have robins. Okay.
Oh, good.
All right, now Linda, let me see yours. Hold yours up just a little higher so I can see the blue, what it says. It says bird detective, tap here to stop recording and explore your results. All right, well, tap,
This is a
hit,
catbird.
I know, but hit the red box, Linda, and see what happens. What does it say?
So,
It says you have a catbird. Is there anything under catbird?
okay, song, song, song calls.
Okay, you're getting a catbird, which is a mimic.
Oh,
So that's.
But you don't have the right bird. Okay.
And it's
Pressing
definitely
Greg is-
loses a little something through the airwaves, so that's part of the problem. But we did have a 2/3. That's better than baseball players do. Let's try one more.
All right, we'll try one more. Let's see. I was just trying to think if there was any other way to, I might have to have like a little powwow over at the office, but come on the 16th and we'll make sure that you get it. Okay, now let's see. What should we do? Let's do a titmouse. All right. This is a tufted titmouse. Does anybody have a titmouse?
Okay, we have 2 titmice. So basically, you get the idea. Oh, another one?
I
What do-
got a Baltimore Oriole.
Okay.
I think the problem is doing it through the computer like this.
Because I'm getting it
Perhaps-
here every
Yeah,
time.
Anders is getting them here, and some people are getting them apparently on theirs. Hopefully, that the problem is the fact that that we're doing it over the computer. But here's what we'll do too. I have all of these. Well, first of all, this presentation is being recorded, so you can go back and listen to it on the YouTube and get the actual steps. But I'll also send you. I'll send to Jonas, and he can post it wherever. I'm sure there are places he posts things. I know there are. I'll do a list of the links to the Merlin, actually to the Merlin troubleshooting page. But I'll also put down the pre-steps that you need to do. I'll go back over with how you need to download it. If you already had it downloaded, you need to update it and give you more information about what that looks like. And then I'll also go through the bird packs and talk a little bit more or give a few more little details about what you're supposed to do to get those installed. And if that doesn't work, I have a feeling that once you get all that in there and you go outside, you're definitely going to have a house sparrow. There's no doubt about that. And probably a starling. They don't make as much noise this time of the year, but you will have some. And then see if it's working outside. And then if not, then we'll have to powwow with it on Roosevelt. And then also Jonas, who is our tech superstar, maybe he'll let people come by the office too and help you with it a little
Yeah,
bit.
I've got it to work. So if you want tips or anything, I'm happy to try to run through it. I'm not an expert, but it seems to be working okay on my phone. So,
Okay.
but I also have a very
We
modern
wanted
phone.
also to come back and answer Lorna's question about, well, if you play the bird's song off your phone, which you have access now to all these sounds, how does that, that work? And birds will come to you. And it's a pretty common way both to research and for birders to attract bird. But the point is you want to be careful with it, because particularly during mating season and during breeding season, if the bird hears what it may assume is a predator or a competing male, it may do any number of things. Before we understood all this, we would upset a couple of birds quite clearly. They were very, very upset with hearing the sound and not being able to figure out what was going on. So you should be careful with it. However, that said, we have been on more walks with experts who say, let me just play this and get this bird to come see us. So it is something that people do. You just want to do it in moderation.
And not harass the bird. Now, we will leave you with one, it's about an hour, we're about ready to stop. We hope that we will see you all on the 16th if you're available, but I want to leave you with one little Merlin goodie, since not everybody could get onto the sound, and I'm sad about that. Sorry about that, but go back to the home screen like we had before. And down at the very bottom, the tab is Explore Birds. So tap that, and you should come up with a list of birds. Okay, this is an incredible in your hand bird guide. So tap any bird, like the very first one up at the top of my screen is a Canada goose. Now yours may be something different depending on how your birds are arranged on your list. But when I tap Canada goose, I get a picture of it. I get a paragraph of description. But if you go down to the bottom of that screen, you're going to see a pair of binoculars. That's the ID info. So that's what you're getting right there with the picture. The next one is the sound. So that's that list of all the sounds that that bird makes, like we were talking about. So if you want to hear those sounds are in there for every bird, not just the 456, all of them. So you, for the Canada goose, you just push the green button and you get to hear all the sounds that are recorded that the Canada goose makes. Now, if you go back down to the bottom of the screen again, you'll see a map icon. You push the map and that's going to show you the abundance map. And that shows you where the birds go. Now, if you'll notice, if you happen to have up Canada goose, he goes everywhere. Canada goose, as we know, are everywhere. But it shows you the color codes down here on one side. It shows you where the birds are in the country at those particular times of the year. So let's take one that's not everywhere. I'm just going to hit the Foister's tern. He's pretty much everywhere too in the US. But see, the colors change depending on whether the bird is migrating. Shows you where it is in migration. It shows you where it breeds, which is, a different color. And then it shows you where it is when it's not breeding. And then the purple is where it is year round. So you can go through all of those birds and you just have it right there in the palm of your hand. And that's it. That's all we have for you today.
If you want to look at our website, it's listed under flyinglessons.us. All one word, flying.us. And our book for Simon and Schuster, you have to wait a little while. It'll probably be a year or more before it comes out. Actually, more than that before it comes out. But
it's about bird conservation. So what we're doing is we're traveling around the country to report on projects where they're making progress on saving birds. And we're talking about the latest technologies and all of the different things that scientists are doing to try to keep birds off the endangered species list.
And also, I would just add that there's the amount of information out there, particularly at Cornell, and Audubon has a really good app along the lines of what we were just showing you. There's just a terrific amount of information as you look to try to understand this. And of course, the more you understand, the more interesting birds become, and the story of whether they are going to be able to turn this around is a really important one as well. So that's why we can't stop talking about it. And we're going to extend this for an extra hour right now.
So before we end, Anders and Bev, could you tell us about your experience as a musician with the banjo?
Yeah. So this was a couple of years ago. I was out playing at a campground, and I hit a couple of notes, and I heard what sounded to me like a bird trying to mimic my playing.
Oh my God.
And so I hit it again, and sure enough, this bird was hitting the same note. So this went on for about 15 minutes. We recorded it and wrote a little something on our website about, who's playing whose song, really. And I think in the end, I realized that I was probably playing its song. It probably could care less about my experience, but the point sort of is
It
that
was a tufted titmouse in a
Tufted
perfect
titmouse.
key of.
perfect key. I think he was playing an F sharp for some reason, a very high note. So the songs of birds, though, are really, really interesting. The more you learn about the variety and the reasons for it, and they have ways of communicating back and forth. There's two really great new books out by Jennifer Ackerman. The first book is called Genius of Birds,
The
Genius of Birds, which is sort of about how smart birds are, much smarter than we thought, maybe smarter than we are, I'm not sure. And the second one is about how birds live and parent and all that sort of thing. Really interesting research. And both of those books, Jennifer Ackerman's books, are really fascinating. We won't go on much longer, but thank you for that question.
But
Thank you. I wanted to say thank you very much for taking the time to talk with us today. And to answer someone's question here, the walk is open to everyone. So I will make sure that's in the post event email with the YouTube link. So if you'd like to join the Gyllenhaals on the 16th, you're welcome to come. And I will keep it open for a couple minutes if there's a question or two.
If I'm outside the neighborhood, is it okay to come to Roosevelt Island? And the answer is yes.
Yes.
And it looks like a couple of other questions, Barry and Suzanne.
A caution about Roosevelt Island. Parking is extremely limited. We might want to think about taking Ubers or whatever other mode of transportation.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
accessible by from Foggy Bottom walking. It's not far from the Roslyn Metro. So yeah.
And I do see one last question, which is, do birds ever change their songs? Does the repertoire expand?
Yes, for some birds.
Yeah, for most of them, they stick close to the tunes that they were brought up on, and how they learn them is basically from listening to other birds.
And one of the biggest ways they change, well, of course, mimics, like there are just a few birds that continue to, well, North American birds that learn bird song their whole life long. And the mimics, the mockingbird and catbirds are two of those. But one of the things that I did find out when I was looking around about this was that birds do sometimes have different dialects based on east and west. So you might have like a robin, well, I'm not exactly sure which bird, but just a bird that's in the east might have an accent. And then if you listen to that same bird in California, it might be slightly different. And sometimes that happens when there's a mountain, when there's a big barrier like a mountain range. So they will have regional dialects.
And Merlin is able to differentiate if more than one bird is singing at a time. You might have to stick with it to try to decipher which one is which. But that's not usually a problem if you play long enough.
Can I just say thank you? This was really terrific for somebody who's as dumb as I am about this.
Oh, come on. Well, we hope we'll all see you all on the 16th. And thank you.
I hope so.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, it's great to see you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.